Hey there. I'm Kathy, a 35-year-old graphic designer. You know how sometimes an idea just sticks in your head and won't go away? That's exactly what happened to me with the whole open relationship thing. I've always been the type to question everything, why we do things the way we do, and why we follow outdated societal rules. It's just part of who I am. I remember one day at my favorite coffee shop, a cute little spot called Been There. I was scrolling through Instagram when I stumbled upon a post about modern relationships. Suddenly, it felt like a light bulb went off in my head. Why limit ourselves to loving just one person? Isn't that a bit old-fashioned? The more I read about polyamory and open relationships, the more it resonated with me. After all, who decided we should be tied to one person for life? Probably some old dudes from centuries ago who viewed women as property or something. That evening, I couldn't focus on anything else. I kept thinking about how liberating it would be to break free from traditional constraints. We don't expect one friend to meet all our friendship needs. So why do we impose that pressure on romantic relationships? I spent hours diving into articles, joining online forums, and watching YouTube videos about people living these incredible, liberated lives. I couldn't wait to share my thoughts with Ben. He's been my boyfriend for 5 years and has always been supportive of my ideas. Well, mostly. I thought Ben would at least be open to discussing it. I wasn't suggesting we should break up. In fact, I wanted the opposite. I envisioned us growing together, exploring new ideas, and becoming this amazing modern couple capable of handling anything that came our way. So one evening, while we were having dinner at home, I made his favorite pasta, a creamy mushroom dish he loves. It felt like the perfect moment to bring it up casually. Hey, what do you think about open relationships? I asked, trying to sound relaxed even though my heart was racing. I had rehearsed this conversation in my head countless times, but when I saw his reaction, I was taken aback. Oh my God, you should have seen his face. It was like I'd suggested we should move to Mars. He froze, his fork halfway to his mouth, sauce dripping back onto the plate. When he finally found his voice, it had an edge I had never heard before. It felt like watching a wall go up between us, brick by brick. I tried to explain my thoughts, emphasizing how progressive and feminist the idea of an open relationship is. I talked about breaking free from outdated notions of ownership and jealousy, and I shared all the research I'd done. I even mentioned some inspiring couples who were making it work. But the more I spoke, the more closed off he seemed. I could see his shoulders tense up, his jaw tighten, and he barely touched the rest of his dinner. Honestly, I was disappointed. I had expected him to be more open-minded than that. I mean, come on, it's 2024, not 1950. It felt frustrating to see someone I cared about retreat into traditional views, especially when I believed in the possibility of something more fulfilling for both of us. I wanted to connect with him on this new level, and instead, it felt like I was hitting a brick wall. I felt like Ben wasn't even trying to understand my perspective. All those articles I'd read highlighted this very issue, how some people are just stuck in their old ways and can't see beyond their conditioning. But I genuinely thought Ben would be different. He's young and progressive in many aspects of his life. I mean, he supported me when I launched that feminist podcast last year. So why couldn't he see that this was just another step forward in our evolution as a couple? It was disheartening to think that someone who had always championed my ideas could suddenly shut down when faced with something new. I envisioned us as a team, pushing boundaries together and exploring new dynamics in our relationship. Yet here we were, facing an unexpected divide over a concept that I believed could enrich our lives. I couldn't shake the feeling that Ben was letting fear and societal norms dictate his response rather than considering the potential benefits of this new approach. I wanted to share this exciting journey with him, but instead, it felt like I was standing on one side of a chasm, while he remained firmly planted on the other. All I wanted was for him to meet me halfway, to at least engage in a conversation about it, but his closed-off demeanor made that seem impossible. Now let's check Ben's side of the story. Hey, it's Ben here. I keep replaying that dinner in my head. One minute, we were having a normal evening. Kathy had made this amazing pasta, and we were chatting about our day and planning our weekend. Then, just like that, my whole world tilted sideways when she mentioned open relationships. Was she serious? Suddenly, that delicious mushroom pasta felt like lead in my stomach. Look, I'm not some controlling, jealous guy. At least, I don't think I am. But when Kathy started talking about seeing other people while we stayed together, something inside me just broke. It felt like someone had knocked the wind out of me, hard. The way she spoke about it, so casual and excited, made it even worse. It felt as if she were discussing trying out a new restaurant, rather than completely altering the foundation of our relationship. I've always believed in giving everything to one person. Call me old-fashioned, but that's just who I am. My parents have been married for 35 years, and yeah, they've had their ups and downs, but they've always been there for each other. That's what I want. That's what I thought Kathy and I had been building together. Something beautiful and lasting. At least, that's what I believed. Now, I find myself questioning everything. It's hard to reconcile my traditional values with this new idea she's presenting. I want to support her, but the thought of sharing her with someone else feels like a betrayal to what we've created. The way she talked about open relationships made it seem like the most natural thing in the world, which left me feeling like I was somehow wrong for wanting what we already had. She kept throwing around terms like patriarchal and toxic monogamy, and with each word, I felt myself shrinking. It was as if I was suddenly the bad guy for wanting to be faithful to one person, for believing that love means choosing someone every day and sticking to that choice. I tried to explain how I felt, but Kathy looked at me like I was some kind of dinosaur who hadn't gotten the memo about extinction. It was frustrating that she couldn't see this wasn't about being progressive or conservative for me. It was about what I believed in and what I wanted for my life. What happened to the Kathy who cried during the notebook? Just last month, she told me she had never felt so secure in a relationship before. Now, here we were, and everything felt different. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept imagining Kathy going on dates with other guys, sharing intimate moments that I thought were just for us. The thought made me physically sick. The more I considered it, the more I realized how deeply uncomfortable I was with the idea of her being with someone else. It felt like a betrayal to everything we had built together, and I couldn't shake that feeling. I got up around 3 a.m. and sat in our living room, staring at the photos of us on the wall. There we were at the beach last summer, at her sister's wedding, at that silly Halloween party where we dressed as salt and pepper shakers. Were those memories not enough? Was I not enough? Every time I closed my eyes, I imagined her smile, not directed at me but at someone else. I heard her laughter, not in response to my jokes, but at another man's. What hurt the most was how excited she seemed about it all, like she discovered some profound truth that I was too blind to see. How do you tell someone you love that their dream feels like your nightmare? I wanted to support her, but the idea of her pursuing this new path was suffocating. The next morning, I went through the motions of getting ready for work, but everything felt different. The coffee she'd made me, the quick kiss goodbye. It all felt hollow, like we were acting out scenes from our old life while standing in the ruins of what we had built together. I felt a heaviness in my chest, a gnawing uncertainty about what the future held for us. Would we be able to find common ground again? Or was this the beginning of the end? Now let's check Kathy's side of the story. I spent the whole day at work staring blankly at my computer screen, not really seeing anything. I couldn't shake the thoughts swirling in my mind about how we'd ended up in this place and where we were going from here. You know what? I decided I was done trying to convince Ben. If he couldn't understand this, then maybe it was his problem, not mine. Last night, I took the plunge and downloaded Tinder. Yeah, I really did it. My hand was shaking a bit when I clicked the app, but it felt powerful, like I was finally taking control of my own story. I spent about an hour crafting the perfect bio. Ethically non-monogamous, exploring life's possibilities. It felt so authentic, so true to what I wanted. The responses started pouring in almost immediately. God, it was such a rush. All these interesting people wanting to talk to me, to get to know me. Not just guys, but individuals with diverse perspectives on life, love, and relationships. Some of them actually understood what I was trying to do here, and that felt incredibly validating. It was like I was stepping into a new chapter of my life, one where I could embrace my desires without holding back. One guy, a philosophy professor, sent me this amazing message about how monogamy is just a social construct designed to control women's sexuality. I mean, how eye-opening is that? When Ben saw me messaging someone last night, he completely lost it. He launched into this whole lecture about respect and boundaries, pacing around our living room like some caged animal. But I stood my ground. I told him straight up, this is who I am now. This is what being an empowered woman looks like. He just doesn't get that I can love him and still want to explore connections with others. It's not like I'm sneaking around. I'm being totally honest about everything. I even went on my first coffee date today while Ben was at work. I didn't feel the need to tell him. I mean, it's not cheating if I've already said I want an open relationship, right? The guy I met was nice, Roger, a graphic designer like me. We talked for hours about art, politics, and yes, about polyamory. He's been doing it for years, and everything he said just validated what I've been feeling. It felt liberating to connect with someone who shares my perspective. For the first time in a while, I felt excited about the possibilities ahead of me. He told me about his 2 girlfriends and how they all support each other. It sounds so beautiful and mature. Sure, there's this tiny voice in the back of my head when I see Ben's hurt face, but I push it away. Like last night, when he was sitting alone in the dark living room, staring at his phone. I felt this pang in my chest for a second, but then I reminded myself, he's trying to make me feel guilty for being true to myself, and I won't let that happen. All these articles I've been reading say this is normal, that society has conditioned us to feel bad about wanting more than one connection. Last night, I went to a poly meetup group at this Trini vegan cafe downtown. Sitting there, surrounded by people who understood me, I felt this amazing sense of belonging. They shared stories about their journeys, their struggles, and their victories. One woman told me how her husband eventually came around to the idea after seeing how happy it made her. It was inspiring to hear, and it made me believe even more that I'm on the right path. This community is a reminder that love doesn't have to be limited. It can be expansive and inclusive. I'm hopeful about Ben. I believe he just needs some time to grow and understand where I'm coming from. I've connected with a community that truly gets me. They've shared great book recommendations and even added me to their WhatsApp group. It's refreshing to finally be surrounded by people who understand my perspective. I'm considering starting a blog to share my journey and help other women who might feel trapped in traditional relationships. I think I could really make a difference by sharing my experiences and insights, and perhaps even becoming a voice for this movement. When I mentioned the blog idea to Ben, he rolled his eyes, but that's his issue. He seems to be stuck in a narrow mindset. In the poly community, there's a saying, love is infinite, but time isn't. I'm getting better at scheduling my time. Tuesday nights are for my meetup group, Thursdays are for seeing Roger again, and Saturday, I have a date with an interesting guy from the app to discuss ethical non-monogamy over drinks. Ben keeps asking me where I'm going and who I'm seeing, but I've made it clear that he needs to address his jealousy issues. That's his journey, not mine. I know he thinks I'm being selfish, but isn't it actually more selfish to live a lie? To pretend I'm satisfied with traditional monogamy just to keep him comfortable? I deserve to explore this side of myself, and if he truly loves me, he should support my choices. That's the bottom line. Additionally, some of my new friends have pointed out that jealousy often stems from insecurity and possessiveness. If Ben wants to be part of my journey, he really needs to address those issues. Now let's check Ben's side of the story. Enough is enough. I can't keep watching this train wreck unfold. Kathy thinks she's being subtle with her phone, always grinning at some stranger's messages, but I'm not blind or stupid. Every notification sound feels like a slap in the face, and I'm sick of it. Each ping is like another hammer driving a nail into the coffin of our relationship. Last night was the last straw. She came home late, smelling like some pretentious coffee shop, barely trying to hide where she'd been. When I asked her about it, she casually said she was just meeting some friends, like I'm an idiot who can't put two and two together. I saw those dating app notifications lighting up her phone. Friends, my ass. She didn't even bother to hide them anymore. They popped up right there on her screen, daring me to say something. And what really gets me, she has the audacity to act like I'm the one with the problem here. Like I'm some caveman who needs to evolve. Well, excuse me for having actual values and believing in commitment. I caught a glimpse of her phone yesterday, and there it was. Some guy named Roger sending her hearts and coffee cup emojis. My girlfriend is getting hearts from a random dude, and she thinks this is perfectly fine. She even left her phone unlocked on the coffee table, and I saw their conversation. They were discussing me, labeling me traditionally minded like it's some kind of insult. When I confronted her about it, you know what she did? Launched into this rehearsed speech about female empowerment and breaking free from societal constraints. Give me a break. Since when did loyalty become just another societal constraint? Since when did respecting your partner's feelings turn into some form of oppression? It's like she's armed herself with all these trendy buzzwords now. Ethical non-monogamy, relationship anarchy, polycule. It's enough to make me want to vomit. This morning, I went through my Instagram and deleted every single photo of us. All those happy moments now feel like nothing but lies. That picture from our anniversary dinner just 2 months ago? Gone. The one from our hiking trip that felt so special? Deleted. The Christmas photos with my family? Trashed. When she noticed and had the audacity to ask why I was being dramatic, it infuriated me. Dramatic? I'm dramatic because I refused to share my girlfriend with half the city? Because I genuinely believed in what we had? Every time her phone buzzes, every time she strolls in late with some half-baked excuse, every time she raves about her new friends from that poly meetup group, I can feel my blood boiling. This isn't what I signed up for. This isn't love. It's outright disrespect dressed up in a bunch of progressive buzzwords designed to make it seem noble. She's adopted this whole new vocabulary, tossing around terms like compersion and metamor as if that somehow justifies her actions. Last week, she left her laptop open, and I caught a glimpse of her blog draft titled My Journey to Authentic Love. What a joke. After 3 years together, I'm suddenly reduced to a mere footnote in her narrative of self-discovery, a primitive stepping stone she feels the need to evolve past. It's infuriating to think that everything we built could be so easily dismissed in favor of her quest for something she believes is more enlightened. She's turning me into some kind of cautionary tale about toxic monogamy in her writings. Well, congratulations, Kathy. You've truly opened my eyes, not to enlightenment, but to how much of a stranger you've become. You know what really takes the cake? She actually had the nerve to suggest that I start dating other people too, as if that would magically make everything okay. As if watching her collect dating app matches isn't painful enough. Now she wants me to jump into the same shallow waters? No thanks. I still have my self-respect, even if she thinks that makes me old-fashioned. I'm not interested in her progressive relationship utopia. I'm just done. Completely done. This isn't the relationship I signed up for, and I refuse to play along with her twisted version of love any longer. My buddy Mike has been telling me to walk away, and honestly, he's right. I can't stick around to watch her explore her newfound identity while treating our 5-year relationship like it's some primitive practice she needs to outgrow. If she wants freedom, she can have all the freedom she desires. I'll pack up my things this weekend and let her precious new poly family help her pay the rent. She can experience her empowerment without me. 1 month later, Kathy is alone in her empty apartment. The apartment feels so empty now. It's been a month since Ben moved out, and I still can't adjust to the silence. His coffee mug isn't in the sink anymore. His shoes aren't by the door. His side of the closet is just empty hangers now, and I never knew they could hurt so much. You know what's strange? Not funny haha, but funny peculiar. I deleted all those dating apps yesterday. Having 5 different people tell you you're special only makes you feel anything but. Roger, the philosophy professor, and all those connections I thought I was forging now seem so hollow, like I was trying to fill a swimming pool with teaspoons of water. Last night, I went to that poly meetup again. I sat there, listening to everyone rave about their amazing relationships, their incredible polycules, their enlightened way of living, but something felt different this time. I couldn't shake the feeling of emptiness, as if I was sitting on the outside looking in. All those discussions that once filled me with excitement now felt like a reminder of what I had lost. The laughter and joy around me contrasted sharply with the silence of my own home, and I found myself questioning everything. What was I really searching for? Did I truly want this new way of life, or was I just trying to escape the pain of losing Ben? I looked around the room, and all I could see were people trying really hard to convince themselves they were happy. There was Sarah, sharing how her husband eventually came around to the idea of their open relationship. I couldn't help but notice the irony. She conveniently left out that they were separated now. I keep replaying that last morning with Ben in my mind. He was packing his books while I stood in the kitchen, still spouting all that rhetoric about freedom, evolution, and breaking free from societal constraints. God, I wish I could go back and shake myself. What was I really breaking free from? A man who loved me completely? Who looked at me like I was his whole world? Such oppressive stuff there, Kathy. Truly nailed it. The worst part? I did this to myself. All those articles, forums, and meetups became an echo chamber, amplifying my doubts and fears instead of offering clarity. I was so caught up in this idea of empowerment that I lost sight of what truly mattered. My relationship with Ben. Now, surrounded by these people who seem to have it all figured out, I can't help but feel like I've lost something irreplaceable. The very thing I thought I was freeing myself from was the love and commitment that grounded me. I was so caught up in trying to be progressive and enlightened that I couldn't see I was destroying something real for, what? Theoretical ideals? The supposed right to swipe right on strangers? The freedom to have coffee with people who only know the edited highlights of my life? Last week, I saw Ben at our old coffee place. He was with someone, a girl with long brown hair. They were laughing together, and when she touched his arm, it felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. Isn't that ironic? Here I was, the great advocate of open relationships, feeling sick at the sight of Ben with someone else. All those fancy terms I learned, compassion, ethical non-monogamy, they lose their meaning when you're watching the love of your life smile at another person. You know what nobody tells you about breaking free from monogamy? They don't warn you about the nights you'll spend scrolling through old photos, crying over stupid things like inside jokes you can't share anymore. It's like I tore down the very foundation of my happiness for the sake of an ideology, and now I'm left with nothing but echoes of what once was. They don't mention how it feels to wake up and reach for someone who isn't there. They don't talk about how expanding your capacity to love sometimes means shrinking your capacity to be loved deeply by one person. I started writing in my journal again. My real journal, not that stupid blog about authentic love I was trying to create. Looking back at entries from a year ago, I found one where I wrote about how safe Ben made me feel, how I cherished that he chose me every day. What happened to that, Kathy? When did I start believing that choice was a cage rather than a gift? Mom called yesterday. She didn't say, "I told you so," but I could hear it in her silence. She just listened while I cried and then said something that's been haunting me. "You had something beautiful and you let it go." That simple statement echoed in my mind, weighing heavier with each passing moment. It felt like a punch to the gut, a stark reminder of everything I had thrown away in the name of some misguided notion of freedom. Sometimes, honey, the grass isn't greener on the other side. It's greener where you water it. I've been thinking about messaging Ben, trying to explain how wrong I was. But what would I say? Sorry I threw away our relationship because I got caught up in some ideological bubble? Sorry I made you feel like our love wasn't enough? The words just feel inadequate. Besides, I saw how happy he looked with that girl at the coffee shop. He deserves that. Someone who truly appreciates what they have when they have it. So here I am, surrounded by all this freedom I thought I wanted. Yet I feel more trapped than ever. It turns out the constraints I was so desperate to escape were actually the very foundations holding my life together. And now? Now I realize that sometimes the most progressive thing you can do is admit you were wrong. Some old-fashioned ideas, like loving one person completely, aren't outdated at all. They're simply true. Now let's check the story from Ben's side. I never imagined I'd end up married to someone so different from Kathy, but here I am, happily committed to a woman who shares my values. When I first met Jessica, I felt an instant connection. She's grounded and believes in the kind of love that fosters loyalty and trust. It's a stark contrast to what I experienced with Kathy, whose life became a whirlwind of chaos after she dove into the world of polyamory. At first, I tried to understand her choices, to be supportive, but watching her spiral was painful. She surrounded herself with so-called poly friends, people who preached about freedom and exploration but seemed more interested in using one another than in building genuine connections. I watched as her relationships shifted and changed, one by one, as they all moved on with their lives, leaving Kathy behind. It was like a slow-motion train wreck that I couldn't look away from, but every time I tried to reach out, she was too caught up in her new narrative to hear me. Then one day, out of the blue, my phone rang. It was Kathy. I could tell she had been crying, her voice choked with emotion. She poured her heart out, saying she felt used and abandoned, that her friends had vanished when she needed them most. She spoke about how she was left with nothing but regrets, realizing too late that the freedom she had chased came at a price she wasn't ready to pay. I listened for a moment, but I couldn't find the sympathy she seemed to expect from me. I had my own life to think about, one filled with love and commitment, not the uncertainty that had characterized my time with her. So, I simply hung up, telling her, "You made your bed, now sleep in it." It felt cold, but it was the truth. I had tried to be there for her when she was searching for something that never truly existed, and now she was left with the consequences of her choices. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.